Hey guys, I'm back. Today I wanted to talk about drugs and alcohol. And you know, it's a part of life. I mean, whether you choose to use it or not, there's people I know who don't use any drugs and alcohol, people like my mother. And whenever they do have a sip or they do have something, they don't have a pleasurable feeling. And then there's people who can have one sip and then it's game over and it doesn't end until they're in the back of a squad car. So our brains are all wired differently. We're all wired differently, and I I think that at a certain point in your life, you know in your gut whether you have a problem and with what. So it can be food, it can be shopping, it can be gambling, it can be sex, and a lot of times it's substances, it's drugs and alcohol, and things like booze you see in every TV show. Like, it had an impact on me when I was a kid. Like, every show, you see people drinking and smoking. So that becomes a socially accepted thing. And then you go to family cookouts and, you see the grown ups, your uncles, drinking and smoking. So you want to do the same thing sometimes. And then if you're like my sister, for example, she didn't have any desire to do that. So it really depends. I, as a kid, was always very precocious and I wanted to be like the grown ups and I wanted to grow up quickly. And I wanted to try all the new experiences there were. And I wanted to see what the big deal was. And so, I started drinking and smoking pot and stuff pretty young, just like a lot of people do. And I think that things can either enhance your life and or things you become a slave to them. And only you know your relationship with any one substance. So if you're one of those people who can't control it, and you have to get intoxicated, and you can't just catch a little buzz or a happy feeling, but you have to get intoxicated every time you do something, you're probably better off not doing anything. And you're probably better off, sticking to coffee and sticking to something else, maybe, or finding a different hobby because it will ruin your life. But if you fall into the category where you can abuse it and you're able to stop if you have to, and you're more of a functional person, but you do have, like emotional eating or emotional drinking or whatever it is, if you get triggered to do certain addictive things, that's where the problem lies. If you're doing addictive behaviors to cover up feeling your feelings, and trust me, I'm guilty of this for many years, with things like marijuana and stuff, until I realized unless you feel your feelings and you just allow yourself to feel the pain of whatever you're going through and process the pain and not dwell in the pain, but You realize what reality is, you realize what's happened, you realize it won't end you. And it is a growth experience, going through pain and feeling it and not masking it with drugs and alcohol or food or whatever. That's a growing experience. And it's like working on a muscle. You can have more capacity for it the more you do it. And I had cancer at a younger age, as a young adult, and I was told by my doctor it was okay to use marijuana to deal with some of the side effects to my body. And I was prescribed a bunch of prescription painkillers and other stuff as well. And I went through a long period of living, but I was taking a bunch of things that made me not have to process the pain. So once I did have to stop, and once I did have to sober up and stop, and, clear my system of using marijuana and using the different things I had to use during my treatment, it was horrible. And, I strongly suggest that when you're going through a hard time, yes, allow yourself to have a night of indulgence. I'm not saying get wasted. I'm not saying get drunk or go smoke meth or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying treat yourself to a nice meal. Have a beer if you want. Have whatever, but indulge yourself. But give yourself one or two of those, and then you have to use your pain as fuel. Fuel for your hobbies, fuel for your work, fuel for your self-improvement, fuel for your self-love. Every time you go to work out, every time you do something to take care of yourself, clean your house, maintain a garden, wash your car, floss your teeth, do things to take care of you. Every time you do that, you are getting better yourself, basically. And you have to focus on, I'm going to come back to those things, doing those positive things. I'm going to keep on coming back to that instead of whatever addictive behavior, and you're going to have to stop, and not necessarily forever unless you have a problem with it. But yes, it's important in times of trouble to stay sober for a while and feel your feelings. And you have to feel your feelings until you're okay with those feelings, until you can function well with those feelings and you can get on with your life. And then if you want to mindfully do whatever you do, I don't recommend using drugs and alcohol, and I think it's better not to. But if you do use it, stick to make a limit, make a boundary, make a healthy boundary for yourself and stick to that. And don't ever get drunk or get screwed up just to get screwed up or whatever. And no, we don't really drink for taste or whatever. I understand that. But I'm saying, yeah, you can drink for taste. But I'm saying, like, I know you want to feel something, but just feel it, appreciate it. Quality over quantity. Like, smoke your little weed, have your little beer or whatever. And set a limit on it. And set a limit for the times you want to do it and the amount you want to do it. And don't ever have an open thing where, I'll just get completely hammered. Because that's just not good. So, whatever you're doing, you set a limit to it. And then nothing you should be doing every day. And I've fallen into this trap because I've been prescribed prescription drugs and stuff for every day and stuff for a doctor telling me to take it. So like you have to like realize you have to learn how to be okay with things without self-medicating. So yes, if your doctor gave you a prescription or whatever, yes. And I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is just what I've learned going through a lot of things. But I'm saying set limits on your alcohol drinking and your pot use. And like if you're gonna mindfully use mushrooms or whatever, I would do that with some sort of professional help, or do your research, do your serious research. But I don't recommend doing hard drugs or soft drugs or anything like that. But if you're going to use, you have to set limits, and you can't do it every day. And when you are going through the hardest times, you have to make it a habit to do the hard things when you're going through hard times. So, right when you're going through the breakup, I understand, or right when you get laid off, yeah, have a couple beers that night and have a burger and enjoy yourself. But you need to be in the gym the next day. You need to be working on yourself the next day. You can't be complacent and expect the universe to give you what you want if you're not willing to work towards what you want. I'm not talking about striving. Do what you know what you have to do and then leave it. And addiction is a lot about wanting to be in control, and I understand it. I have an addictive personality, and it's about wanting to control how you feel and how your physical body is feeling during that time. But I'm sorry, mental pain is different than physical pain. So you can take Tylenol and oxycodone and whatever until your wound heals up and your pain will be masked. But when it comes to an emotional hurt or a spiritual hurt, you have to go through those things before you heal from it. So that yes, you can enjoy yourself and use substances mindfully if you want to. But I'm saying for the most part, you'll have to go through it and be having a clear head and going through it. And if you have to cry, you cry. And replacing the drugs and alcohol with positive things. So, you know what those are. Exercise. And you can definitely make exercise an addiction. Like, I'm going to speak of what I know. And exercise can be as addictive and even destructive like drugs in some ways. If you let yourself become injured and get knee surgery. Like, I took it too far and I went and got knee surgeries and all these other things because I overdid it. But I'm saying you don't have to take it that far, but exercise gives you the same thing as doing a hit of drugs, of cocaine. It gives you the same thing. It just takes some effort. And when you get that dopamine hit through effort, and when you get that dopamine hit through making a to-do list and checking everything off and doing everything you promised yourself you'll do, and keeping the promises to yourself, doing the hard things, and doing the things and getting out of your comfort zone and doing those things you don't necessarily want to get up and do, the dopamine hit you get from that will be way better than the drugs. And I know you don't believe me. You have to go and do it. You have to go and do it to see, but it all becomes a pattern. Just like how becoming addicted might have been a pattern for you, and getting into crutches has been a pattern. Maybe, if you're watching this video, just like whatever you're addicted to has become a pattern, you can get into positive patterns. So let's say like you get into your positive path. It's all really you're controlling it. Your thoughts are controlling it. Your intentions are controlling it. Go listen to a positive book over and over again and internalize it. Listening to something one time never works. Listen to these videos over and over again and internalize it. But internalize positive things. And I'm not saying you have to give up. I don't know what your soul is. I don't know what your brain chemistry is. I'm not saying you have to give up your substances, but that's my uncle who is a veteran, and I respect him a great deal. And he's been through a lot of combat and different things like that, and he likes to smoke weed. But, just a little eighth of an ounce of weed will last him a month. And he told me, like, when I was going through my cancer treatment and stuff, he's like, just use it like a mild medicine where you can barely feel it. And everything, except my coffee addiction and certain other things I just love to drink a lot of. But these type of things, alcohol, the type of things that can get you real intoxicated, like marijuana, alcohol, if you are going to use them, let them be a mild medicine. A mild medicine to take the edge off. And then an hour or two later, you're back to normal and you can go and live your life. Like, there shouldn't be hangovers. There shouldn't be the day after. If you're doing that and you feel that way the next day, you're doing too much. So, I wanted to share that because overuse of drugs and alcohol, I've seen it, and you've probably seen it. It is one of the biggest obstacles to getting what you want in life is overuse and being dependent on drugs and alcohol. You can have a dream relationship at home, like you can have a dream marriage. You can have a dream family. But if you're a slave to the bottle, the pill bottle or the liquor bottle or the weed thing or whatever, if you're a slave to a substance, you will not be able to enjoy what the universe, what God has given you without it. And you become a slave to it. So if you're needing to do drugs and stuff before doing everything, that's a problem. So you need to use gratitude as a tool. Like, I struggle with it too. Trust me, I love to be smoking marijuana all the time. And I'm one of those rare people where I get more energy from it. So it helps me, and I do have quite a few aches and pains it could help me with, but I know I can't use it. And I know that I'll want to start using it all the time if I do, because, it doesn't hurt your liver and all that stuff, but it does hurt your brain. Like, marijuana is a drug, people. It's not harmless, and it does have some good uses, and I do think it can replace a lot of the more toxic medicines out there, a lot of the more addictive medicines out there, but it is highly addictive, and we want to be minimalist with all these things. We want to use it in a minimal way as a tool, and as a tool to help us do what we have to do, not as a slave, and not as something that sucks up our time, money, and everything else. And the same goes for booze. All these things can be a blessing. It's just like a smartphone. All these things can be a blessing or they can be a curse. It's really up to you how you use them. So anyway, I think you understand what I have to say. But I really do care about you all. And I wish you all the best, and even if this just reaches a few people, I want you to know I'm here for you. And this is coming from my heart, and just take it seriously and try and apply it. And do me a favor and like and comment below and let me know how it goes for you and your relationship to drugs and alcohol and what your opinion is. I'd love to learn more. And my email is down there too if you want to get in touch. And you all have a great day, and you'll be seeing me soon.